Two of us will moderate the discussion. We hope you and your families are staying safe and doing well. Our discussion today is on upskilling and employability, what the industry needs from the new age workforce. The discussion is in association with educational technology venture Hero Vired. Hero Vired and the Times of India jointly organized a unique tech challenge recently. And today, during the course of the webinar, we will be announcing the winners. The idea of the challenge was to come up with disruptive ideas using cutting edge technologies. And the whole objective was to underscore the importance of certain kinds of technology skills in today's world. To discuss the need for upskilling, we have four seasoned professionals with us today. We have with us Anupam Trehan. Anupam is Senior Director and the People and Communities Leader at Cisco India and SAARC. Her role is to create and align people and talent solutions to accelerate Cisco's growth while building the best teams and an excellent workplace culture. In her 10 years with Cisco, Anupam has worked across different roles, such as HR leader for the India Engineering Organization and the Asia Pacific Customer Experience Organization. She has previously worked with JP Morgan, Delphi Technical Center, and Tata Autocomp. Welcome, Anupam. We have with us Anjali Rao. Anjali is Senior Director of HR at Intel India. She has the overall accountability for delivering strong HR partnership and value for all of Intel India, spanning R&D, sales and marketing, enterprise IT, and business enabling organizations. Anjali has been with Intel India for close to 16 years and has had the opportunity to work through various HR portfolios and engage and support several charters and groups within Intel India. Welcome, Anjali.
We have Siddarth Pai. Siddarth is founding partner and chief financial and ESG officer at venture capital firm 314 Capital. Siddarth leads a team of finance professionals and business analysts that manages the end-to-end processes from deal evaluations and diligence over legal and financial dimensions to portfolio management operations across the set of deployments. He has successfully closed more than 60 investments in companies through the fund. Welcome, Siddarth. And we have Satyajit Menon. Satyajit heads people and culture at Hero Vired. He has over 20 years of experience in employee relations, consulting for leadership teams, policy design and compliance, and other critical HR functions and strategies. He is certified trainer around people and leadership coaching from Interactive L&D in partnership with Hay Group UK. He has a strong track record of building excellent succession planning methods, promoting internal HR growth, and managing employee impact on business redundancies. Welcome, Satyajit. Those of you viewing this can send in questions to the Facebook comment box. Sujit and I will put them to Anupam, Anjali, Siddarth, and Satyajit. Coming to you, Anjali, first. Is the current academic curriculum of technical education in India adequate to make students job ready?
Hi, Shilpa. Thank you for the question and for the opportunity to share my views. To this question, I would say, I think the current academic system today is job ready, especially for, I think, the engineering roles that get offered. India continues to be a market where a lot of these companies want to grow, and they go and hire from our top tier schools. They do find the talent that they need. Having said that, I would say that as what brought us here today may not be the ones that are going to hold us into the future, right? I think today the education system is evolving, and they are taking into consideration the needs. But equally so, I think the job requirements in the future are going to change. We are living in an era which is dominated by digitization. We are living in an era that is dominated by now huge technology challenges, as well as requiring one to really sort of think sustainability for skills in the long term. And coupled with that, I think one needs to also look at some of the more emerging technical areas like AI, data science, cloud computing, and all of that. These are areas which people are sort of skilling themselves on the job largely. I haven't really seen, and there are some places where the courses are offered, but can we do more in this space? I think yes. Can we accelerate people in these domains? I think the answer is yes. Now, do corporates, do organizations that hire this kind of a talent have a role to play? I think most definitely, right? And I think that needs to come in the form of research projects, in the form of academia engagement, in the form of research, fellowships, and all of that good stuff, and including sort of, and not limited to curriculum influencing. So I think it is, I would say, Shilpa, it is an evolving journey. I don't think any of us can ever say that, we have arrived. It needs to evolve. I think educational institutions need to constantly comb the ecosystem to see what is the need, what do they need to tweak in their curriculum. And I do want to mention one other thing. I think it's also equally important to look at attitude and soft skills along with your hard-coded technical skills. Or domain expertise, I would say, right? And I think in that space, a few that I would like to list is you need people with the ability to handle ambiguity. You need people with critical thinking, problem solving kind of capabilities into the future. You need people who are able to innovate, who are able to take risks, who are able to sort of challenge status quo in many situations. And I think this, not necessarily these are skills that our education system inculcates upfront, but are these important? I think they're extremely critical, right? So one needs to think about the whole education system holistically beyond just the domain expertise to include several other aspects. And it is evolving. I would say we are headed in the right direction. There is an opportunity to do a lot more, and we should.
I just want to ask, what about tier 2, tier 3 institutions? Are they as good, or is there a, I mean, you kind of said people are job ready, but the sense we get is there is a large section which is not quite job ready even now, without any, severe upskilling requirements required. There is the sense we have often got. Anjali, Anupam, I mean, any one of you can take that.
So Sujit, I can offer my perspective and then let the other panelists share. I think I agree. I think there is a fair degree of upskilling and reskilling that we need to do in what you would call as your tier 2 kind of institutions and schools. Having said that, I will also say that today I think the talent need, especially in the technical domain, is so high that what I'm observing is there are specific kind of talent pool that you get in these kind of colleges and institutions that companies do go and offer employment to. And a lot of times I think students come in, they learn, the 70% on the job learning takes place. They up level themselves, they get to work in a work environment that offers them a lot of what is required. And then I think they tend to make a switch. Not to also mention the fact that a lot of these folks who are able to kind of up level and upskill themselves in the work environment also sort of look at higher education and higher studies outside of India, right? So I think if I had to answer your question, I would say, again, it's a continuum. It's not like these are completely ignored. Do we have an opportunity to do a lot more? Definitely. Can we be more deliberate about it? Absolutely. But is it completely absent? I don't think so. I think it is happening just because the war for talent is so much.
Okay. Anupam, I mean, similar question, but the ones that you get into your organization, once you hire, what edge do they have compared to the many others who probably don't get into companies like yours? What additional efforts do these students put in?
Sure. And Sujit, if it's okay, can I just provide my perspective to the previous question that you asked around? So a couple of years back, I think it's been 3 or 4 years back, we did this experiment called the Ideathon, right? And this was specifically targeted for students in tier 3, tier 4 colleges or even below, right? And the plan for us was to kind of go ahead, experiment with that, get them on for internships and see how that works. And I will say this, frankly, we were blown away. So every year we hire 1,500 students. This year we've hired more than 300 apprentices as well, right? And a large part of that comes in from some of those institutes for us. So coming through to your second question, so what do we really look for? I think there is the assessment that we do with the technical skill and the technical capability. But for us, more importantly, there are some of these people skills that are very, very important for us. So a couple of them that we look for is one, agility, and agility, especially with respect to learning. Second is agility and adaptability with respect to change, because that is the new normal, right? So change is the new normal. So how do you deal with change? I would say problem solving both with the lens of creativity, but also simplicity, because I think there's an element of both that comes in there. And last but not the least, I would put in as collaboration skills, right? And collaboration skills, not just with the lens of how do you work or are a good team player within your static team, but this new world of work requires people to work across different teams. It requires people to work across boundaries. So how do you really collaborate, influence, and work across those boundaries? So those are a couple of things that we look for when we are hiring.
Okay. To you. Yeah. Siddarth, you've been an early stage investor in many successful startups. Licious is the latest one that turned unicorn. And you've been an early investor in that. What do you look for investing in a startup, especially when founders do not have the prior startup experience?
I think, Shilpa, that's a fantastic question. A lot of people believe that you need to actually have worked in a larger organization or need to start up before you actually start up your entire entrepreneurial journey. But the most successful entrepreneurs in the country, if you actually look at it, all the way from Ritesh across the entire spectrum, all these people have been people who are fresh out of colleges. Now, what happens is India has actually developed to a large extent where in case you have domain expertise, you understand the target market you're going after, you can actually build the technology to actually enter that particular market. You have the aggression and the ambition to actually scale up. There's an entire ecosystem that's built around you to take care of your other requirements like governance, compliance, accounting, finance, marketing, HR practice, and everything to a very large extent. But getting the gumption to actually, I would say that fire in your belly to actually go and start off, to actually venture forth and take that particular risk, that is something that's actually better suited to people who haven't exactly experienced business life. I know that sounds a little controversial. That's also just my take in that. The reason why I'm saying that is a large amount of the reason why startups actually succeed actually boils down to culture to a very, very large extent. The moment your culture has been influenced by what you've seen happen in the past, by some of the larger organizations who don't necessarily treat their colleagues and all as colleagues, they actually treat them as workers or they treat them as subordinates. The moment you have that, you come with that kind of baggage, your ability to actually generate a new culture actually goes away to a very large extent. And a large number of these people actually starting up right now, most of them are actually experimenting with the way they want to approach. All of us would have seen the recent news of a very prominent fintech company actually announcing they're going to have a 3-day work week. The moment you bring up a 3-day work week to anyone, it's going to actually send shivers down any HR professional's spine. Actually, both Anupam and Anjali also are actually nodding their head trying to figure out what's actually happening over that. But this is the reality of where we actually live as of now. So there are people actually taking risks. Thankfully, we have a vibrant enough capital ecosystem to actually foment that risk. And the best time to actually start off is actually straight out of college, or when you have a couple of years, when we just have a couple of years experience or a couple of years after college. Because working in a startup and being an entrepreneur is not a 9-to-5 job by any stretch of the imagination. It is 24/7, 365 days a year. It's hard-hitting kind of work. And unless you're actually driven and you have the kind of energy and that ambition to actually go and scale it up, it becomes impossibly hard for you to actually succeed. If you take the example of Ritesh, which is Ritesh Agarwal of Oyo, one of the most successful, largest companies to actually come out from. He didn't even complete college for that matter. He's a Thiel fellow, as all of us know. But anyone else in his particular stand to take that level of risk to actually grow their company to become a $12 billion entity by itself, go through COVID, where its entire business model essentially got eroded because of the lockdowns and everything, and to come out of it successfully and to get Microsoft on board. I mean, hats off to him. Very few people who've actually worked in a good corporate life can actually go and actually take that risk. We've seen a number of entrepreneurs actually give up saying, look, this is too tough for me. I want to actually go. There's also another company founded by straight out of college. It's a company called Arab Unmanned Systems, or AUS. These guys came out in the year 2015 when drones were actually just a novelty. People are trying to come out. And all of us know that India's drone regulations took a long time to come out, and they were draconian, to say the least. It actually essentially formed the death knell of that industry. And as of now in this country, there are only a handful of drone startups that exist. These guys fought it out. They've actually sacrificed their salaries. They've got the entire team to take massive haircuts, put in their own money on top of that, rode their entire wave out. And now they're emerging as one of the largest drone companies in the entire country. And they're part of the Drone Federation, and they've done fantastic. So I may be a little biased because of my age also. And we also started off 314 just a year or so after college as well. But I do believe that the moment you haven't seen failure, in this particular field, it actually gives you a clean slate with which you can actually start attacking these problems. And we need a lot more people with optimism and ambition right now to actually generate the kind of change that India truly deserves.
Yeah, we need a different generation. Satyajit, you heard Anjali, Anupam, and Siddarth. So this whole upskilling thing, what would you recommend? I mean, why suddenly upskilling? Everybody's talking about upskilling. NASSCOM has started this entire Future Prime Skills program. I'm sure some of you are part of it. What is the importance of upskilling?
Well, thanks, first of all, Sujit, for having all of us here, and welcome to everybody. So it's a very pertinent question today that all of us are solving. And by the way, this is not a question we've been asking ourselves today. It's been there for the last 20, 25 years, quite frankly. But we speak a lot about it today because probably the demand to hire skilled talent has never been more important than it is now. With pay ranges hitting the ceiling, companies really having to throw money at people, it's become quite difficult. In fact, if we refer to the India Skills Report of 2020, the employability in India ranges anywhere between 45 to 47%, and that's sure. I don't want to call it gloom and doom, but there is a lot that leaves room for the future. Then when you look at the kind of jobs that are going to be created in the tech sector by 2025, we're talking of 65 million jobs. Where are we going to get these people from? Obviously you can only hire so many from competition. And this is the best time to really look at grooming and nurturing what our colleges and universities are producing, which is really smart, bright, young engineers who have a limited platform depending on which tiering of college they are part of. But this is going to be really where, this is going to be a watershed moment, right? Where colleges and companies are going to come together to really have this symbiotic relationship where employers have the selfish motive of getting great talent, and colleges have the latest nuance of what kind of tech is really working in the new world. And I'm not even talking AI and ML. I'm just saying, can the person get into a company as an employable professional? So yes, this deal is real, and it hits us at the right time, and I think there's a lot that we need to do.
Okay, great. So you organized this competition. Can you tell us a little bit about it, and maybe you can announce the first set of winners now?
Sure. So yes, this is obviously a very unique project that we ran in partnership with the Times of India. And the objective was to identify 12 innovators with ideas that could truly transform the world. And obviously with a partner like TOI, it just became very I would say easy in terms of the number of registrations we got, which is probably about 4,000. It cut through all kinds of geographies, age, things like that. And then with that kind of a response, which ranged from students, to really senior professionals with over 25 years of experience, including CEOs for certain organizations. But the whole thing was to try and see what is really going to cut through as a game-changing idea, for the future. So we got ideas from healthcare, from health tech, sustainability. You look at AI, education, agriculture. So very diverse. And from that, we put together some of the finest jury that we could, and finally ended up with a list of the top 12 who would be awarded, scholarships today, Satyajit.
Okay, you will announce the names.
And with that, the first category that we're looking at is the group that's won the 1 lakh scholarships. And the first winner is someone by the name of Vikrant Lakharwal. Is Vikrant in?
Vikrant, can you switch on your video?
Yeah. So Vikrant is a Mandi, and the idea is to improve rural healthcare by bringing in technology to benefit rural population in the hope to provide affordable and low-cost medical services through cutting-edge technology. So Vikrant, if you could.
So,
I think his video is on. Yeah, it's fine, Vikrant.
yes. Hi everyone, my name is Vikrant Agarwal. I'm from Mandi, Himachal Pradesh. My idea is Jeevan Rakshi Himachal Pradesh, first blood donation platform and digital e-learning service for rural area people, those rural area people of the Himachal Pradesh, to provide a low medical facilities.
Thank you, Vikrant. This is amazing, right? I mean, innovation also comes from different places, let alone education or upskilling. It's just fascinating, this whole, the way people think through problems. The next winner is Subhiksha Shri, and she's done something in the automobile sector. Subhiksha, if you're around.
So Subhiksha is from Coimbatore. She's idea is to basically use voice-controlled augmented reality application online, for AI, and using it as a showcasing automobile and vehicle showcasing. Is that correct, Subhiksha?
Yeah, ma'am, correct.
So
I would like to
switch your
thank
mic,
Hero
please?
Vired.
Yes.
Yeah. I would like to thank Hero
Thank you so
Vired
much.
and Times of India for giving me such a great appreciation. Thank you.
Well done, Subhiksha. Moving to the next winner, his name is Naveen S. So if Naveen, if you're around, many congratulations to you.
Yes, sir.
So Naveen from Tirupur. He's from Tirupur, and his idea is to use hardware and artificial intelligence to monitor internal organ symptoms in cases of like COVID, etc., in cases of illnesses. So monitor internal organs and before they start to show as the outcome shows. So the internal system, organs, etc., to monitor those. That's his idea. Naveen?
Yes, ma'am. So my days on artificial intelligence in the revolution of the healthcare and the society. So thanks for the jury members and the sponsors, Hero Vired and the Times of India, to selecting my idea. So I'm a person doing a part-time job for the finance of the education. So this kind of approach is very encouragement for boosting up my idea and the startup type idea. Thank you for all the jury members and sponsors.
Well done, Naveen. Fabulous. Keep going.
Thank you.
Our next winner goes by the name of Prathamesh Bhalekar. Well done, Prathamesh. Good to see you too.
Prathamesh is from Bombay, and his idea is learning to play a guitar through using artificial intelligence. Prathamesh, you're on mute. Unmute yourself, please, Prathamesh.
Yeah, I think there's a problem with the headset, Prathamesh. You may want to.
Yeah, there's a problem with your headset.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, audible now.
Yes.
So good evening, everyone. I would like to thank all the jury members, all the panelists, Times of India and Hero Vired for this amazing opportunity. I will make sure I will make most out of it. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Prathamesh.
Thank
well
you.
done. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Our next winner is Bhurva Sharma. Congratulations, Bhurva, if you're around.
So Bhurva is from Hyderabad, and her idea is to minimalize the time of communicating vital from the scene emergency to the others by use of tech stack.
Yes, that's right. Thank you so much, everybody. I'm really elated to receive this award, and it just fuels my desire for doing more for tech that actually impacts. And my vision for Vital, you can say, is more than just an idea, and we are already working on making it a real product and being launched in the market it so it can save more lives, as I put it. So as you can say the name vital as it goes, I think vital is the most vital thing that is required in the healthcare sector right now. So it basically cuts the time between the emergency situations when you have to monitor a patient's vitals, which are the heart rate, blood pressure, and all of these things. So we are keeping the doctor and patient connected one-to-one, and they'll easily receive updates about say the rise and drop in any of the following vitals. So this I really feel is the need of the hour, as I can
Thanks,
see it.
Purva.
So thank you so much for this. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks, Purva. Thanks, Purva. We've got our next. That's it. That's pretty much it on the 1 lakh scholarships. Over to you, Sujit. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks. It's so inspiring to see these youngsters even from small towns. No, amazing. I kind of now feel what Anjali said. I mean, many of these youngsters seem quite ready in some ways. Actually, some 10 years or more than that. I remember Texas Instruments held a competition, and I remember the people who came on stage. I mean, they were all from small towns and all that, the winners. Fascinating the extent of talent that we have. But Anupam and Anjali, I mean, I still want you to tell us, I mean, what would you advise youngsters in these kinds of in colleges in terms of technical skills? I mean, I know you already mentioned interpersonal skills and all of that, but in terms of specific technical skills and all that, what would you ask them to imbibe in order to get into companies like yours? Anupam, you want to do that first?
Sure, I can give it a go, right? I think a couple of different things, right? Because I don't think there's one answer, Sujit, to your question, quite honestly, because a lot of it also depends on what is it that you would like to do and which specific area in technology do you want to go ahead and pursue, right? So depending on what your passion is, depending on where you derive your energy, that answer could start to look very, very different. So I won't really answer the question from a skill set perspective. But I think a couple of things that I would suggest. One is with respect to always, so we keep talking about upskilling, reskilling. The way that I look at it is, how do you have this continuous learning mindset, right? And it's not just about what do you learn from your institute or from your college, but how do you start to learn from the broader ecosystem? There is just so much that is available out there, right? Whether that is with projects, whether it's things like this, which we just announced, right? There is so many opportunities, right? Whether that is with organizations, whether that is using technology for good, whether that is using technology from a societal, environmental, like there's just so much of avenue that is there. So how does one continue to learn? How does one continue to experiment? I think that becomes very, very important. I would say that the other one that sometimes gets underplayed in all of this is also the role that a coach or a mentor or a sponsor can play for you, right? Which is when you're starting out, sometimes that aspect of somebody holding up the mirror to you, or somebody who can guide you, or somebody who can help set the right direction is a really, really important one. Because a lot of times you end up relying with your classmates or your peers for that. So sometimes just looking out for a coach or a mentor or a sponsor starts to become a hugely important one. So I would just say, continue to have that learning mindset, continue to look at learning, not just from an education perspective, but how do you start to look at it from an experience and an exposure perspective? How do you start to realize the merits and the strength that a coach, a mentor, and an advocate can bring? So I'll probably answer it that way, Sujit, if that helps.
Okay. Anjali, I just want to ask you the same question, but I want to put it a little differently. I mean, people like me, today I've learned a lot more than what I knew 20 years ago, 30 years ago when I started my career. I mean, so it's not like I ever stopped. Nobody told me to keep learning, etc. But today you hear constantly people telling that youngsters should keep learning. I mean, are there people who don't keep learning? I mean, is that very common?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Sujit, I'm going to answer that question a little later. I want to actually answer the first question that you asked and build on what Anupam said, because I think the answer to the next question, the answer to this will help you get the one that you were asking. And I think if you look at data today, we are living in a world, like I said, of digitization, technology dominance, supply chain challenges, name it, and it's there. And I think if you look at the jobs that are linked to these challenges, it is, AI, machine learning, data scientists, data analysts, information security, Internet of Things, strategy specialists, software and applications, business development, and all of that. Right now, if you look at the kind of courses people go through, right? They do go through courses that prepare you for this, but I think there's a lot that rests on how do you really go beyond the course and the curriculum that you're exposed to in this area for you to be able to deliver into the areas that your company recruits you for. So again, right, I think that's where the answer lies, which is you have to have a very forward-looking learning mindset. You have to immerse yourself into projects that challenge you, that help you, that don't necessarily land you in a comfort zone as much as they land you in a very challenging area where you're getting to work on new age challenges. You fail, sometimes you succeed, right? And you've got to be open to that. I'll also say one other thing, which is the answer to your question. Yes, there are people, I think, that don't want to learn. And that's okay too, Sujit. To be honest with you, I think the world is made up of everyone, and everybody's need and everybody's thrust areas are different. What I will say though is I think people who are not with a learning mindset or do not have a learning mindset, when they reach a point of stagnation, I think they suddenly find that they feel like the world has kind of surged ahead and they are still there. And I think that's a bit of a challenge. And I want to link that to the point that Anupam made, which is that's exactly where your network, your mentorship, your coach helps. Right? I mean, it's like a triage, right? You can immerse yourself into doing what you're doing and you may be doing it extremely well. But I think you've got to take a stock check. You've got to have somebody who can show you the mirror from time to time. And different people have different, avenues to do that. But eventually, if you don't do that, I think you do feel stuck because I think the world is just surging ahead. So that would be sort of my insight on this one.
Okay, got it. Yeah, Shilpa?
Yeah, so that coming to you, you spoke about how OYO's Ritesh Agarwal started straight out of college. He was a college dropout. He won the Peter Thiel Fellowship to build something exciting outside the classroom. Just to inspire our young viewers, can you take us through some of the examples, startup founders straight out of college? If you can talk about the kind of groundwork that founders need to really do in this tech landscape, what kind of support do the startup ecosystem and government provide also?
So Shilpa, I think I won't borrow from the story of Ritesh because that's a story that you guys have covered exceptionally well in all the interviews and everything you've done with him. So strongly says everyone to actually read up on that. But there are a number of actually unsung heroes who actually emerged. I want to take the story of two of them. One of them is a company I spoke about previously, AUS, Arav Unmanned Systems. These were guys who came out straight out of college, like I said previously. So their only exposure to the entire business world actually was I would say building at a restaurant to a very large extent or actually paying their bills. So they would just see the bill, see the amount. They wouldn't actually care about the corporate details about what the SAARC compliance are, nothing that actually came in. They incubated and started off their startup at IITs, and kudos to the IITs for actually having innovation labs as well as allowing their students to actually experiment with entrepreneurship over there. They've done fantastic work in terms of giving them the bare basics of incorporation, how to start up a company, etc. So they started that entire part off. I remember when we were actually evaluating them for an investment, I don't think they'd actually held a proper board meeting in the entire 18 months of their existence. Most of the board meetings were they'll be sitting in a dorm room or sitting across each other. They'll say, okay, this is a board meeting, not record any minutes and actually move on. So there's very little in terms of, there was a lot of learning they had to do in terms of actually creating an entire business. And processes were actually non-existent. But the technology that they actually had going for them in terms of actually designing the entire drone in-house, reducing the cost of manufacturing compared to either DJI or anyone else when it comes to it, and solving the complex aerodynamic problems that actually entails. They spent a lot of time and effort into that entire piece itself. When they did raise their first round of funding, we were amongst the first investors to actually commit to them. What really sold us when it came to entire company was the fact that the founders were exceptionally driven and they had very deep domain expertise. Now, these are two incontrovertible skills that no one can actually take away. Whether the market goes up, whether the market goes down, whether the market goes sideways, your ability to actually continue and persevere down the path you have, and to have a certain level of expertise that can't be bought over because you understand the domain so well. These are two of the most important skill aspects that can actually emerge out. And both these skill aspects, mind you, are not necessarily contingent on the education that you've actually gone over. A large amount of this is actually determined by the learning that you actually go through in life. If you think about it, every person coming out of an IIT or any of the premier colleges, be it a Harvard, an MIT, a Manipal, or anything like that, all of them undergo the same educational curriculum. They all write the same exams, but the outcomes that actually come out of the exams vastly differ. This actually shows that most of them, while everyone's in college for an education, very few of them are actually doing real life learning. And the people who actually do learning when it comes to this actually continue to actually survive. Even as Siddarth actually mentioned, no one told him that he has to go and study what these guys are actually doing. I'm very sure when Siddarth actually started, none of cloud computing and all these things weren't even existent as at a particular point in time. Now he's extremely fluent when it comes to that vocabulary. Similarly, you take an example of Anupam or Anjali. The HR practices that are in vogue as of now were actually non-existent 15 to 20 years ago. It's very important to understand the need of diversity when it comes to this, how sustainability actually plays a role, how the corporate culture actually defines the entire corporation, rather than vice versa when it comes to it. So these two aspects become essential when you're actually starting off from college. And the one thing to also expect, one of the greatest learnings that we actually got, and what the AUS founders actually told us, was that college actually, the entire education system is a series where there's a set of predefined goals. If you think about it, you know that there's an exam happening on so-and-so date. This is what the curriculum has. Very little actually comes outside that entire curriculum. So it's an entirely deterministic system. And all of us, at least I can actually admit it, all of us would actually study like 24 hours or 48 hours before the exam actually started by borrowing notes from someone who actually had nicer handwriting and actually bringing the entire thing. But that can't happen in your corporate life. There are no predefined milestones or goals like this. It's a massive marathon that everyone has to run. So that dopamine rush that comes from actually getting validation on a quarterly basis, or every time there's an exam, a semester exam or something, saying I'm top of my class, I'm the top 10, top 20, that doesn't exist in the workforce. And especially if you're the entrepreneur starting off, no one's going to come and pat you on the back and say you've actually done fantastic. Even your investors say, great, you've done something good. Okay, now here are 20 other things you actually have to go and run. The goalpost keeps actually shifting. So having that innate ability to celebrate the victories that you have, but don't get seduced by the fact that you've actually done so much. There's always a lot more ahead of you as an entrepreneur than it ever be behind you. And the only time you should actually look back is when you have nothing else to actually look forward to. So that's a mantra that we actually tell all our entrepreneurs as well. I think that's one of the most important aspects of anyone actually coming outside college. College is a fantastic experience. It's a great crucible in terms of navigating. And the college experience, actually, everyone's pocket money in college was fairly trivial, a very, very small amount. So your ability to optimize scarce economic resources, your ability to generate the best quality of the highest return on whatever resources you have, to have the best kind of time in college, and your ability to manage all the projects and the schoolwork and all that you have. That multitasking that is inherent in the Indian education system actually provides a fantastic framework for our college students and people right out of college to actually join into entrepreneurship. Because that level of instability that entrepreneurship actually entails, if you actually think about it, college has actually prepared you for that. The education may not be as much, but the learning that happens near the college canteen, the learning that happens on the campus, these are the skills that will actually take you forward and actually take you forward and actually make you successful. So this would be the learnings that we've actually gotten from them. And from this also, we started realizing that looking at every time we speak to an entrepreneur, more than the business model, more than the company, more than the financials, more than the diligence, etc., the greatest risk that actually comes with investing is the people risk. You're actually taking a bet on that person. Whether the person can, like a Ritesh, actually come out from the claws of death and actually go back to being successful. Or there are enough people who just wipe their hands off when they're going at stuff and says that's actually not true. We do have people like AUS. We do have people like Oyo. There are millions of these unsung heroes who actually exist in the annals of Indian entrepreneurship. And a number of them actually come from smaller towns. A larger city actually ends up softening you to a large amount of this. It makes you a little more complacent. It's easy for you to get everything at the click of an app. But the real hunger will always come from tier 2 cities. And even the Hero Vired concept that we've seen as of now, a number of them have actually come from these particular cities. And the problems they are solving are very real life, tangible problems that people in those locations are actually facing. And like I've always said, Silicon Valley may actually build for the first 1 billion internet users. So someone who wants like a pizza to be delivered to them 5 minutes earlier or something like that. But it'll be a country like India that can actually build for the remaining 6 billion people in the world. I need to encourage a lot more people to actually take up this entire mantle of responsibility.
Absolutely. Yeah. and get those hands dirty, get some live experiences. Absolutely. Satyajit, I mean, you work with a lot of companies. What is the sense you get? What kind of skills are companies and hiring managers generally looking for?
So if I look at, maybe we should just split this into two, right? I mean, you look at some of the functional, the technical skills, and I feel more passionate about the software aspect of it. But let's get to the technical skills, right? So you look at the blockbuster ones are obviously, you look at AI, machine learning, cloud computing. The whole fintech space is also trying to burst into the scenes. You look at blockchain and social media marketing. So those are some of the the high ticket skills that we look at. But the interesting thing, the transition that we've seen on the software aspects of it is also quite intriguing. So we lived in a world where competition was assumed to be the thing that takes you through. But startups have taught us that it's collaboration that actually takes us there. And it's not about whether one function does better than the other, or whether there's one. So, off go all the distribution curves, the performance, it's really what your objectives and key results are and how you kind of track it. So to a great extent, we're trying to look at people who can work with multifunctional teams and can excel there, as opposed to, oh, it's just in silos and this is what I do. So that's the first shift. The second shift is also in terms of what we construe as leadership. Back in time, you would look at a leader's profile to be 25 years, 30 years. Look how all that has changed over the last 5-6 years. You've got, head of technology or CTOs, all of them bursting through in their mid-20s, some of them even younger. And so what has completely dispelled the myth is that age and experience, sure, they help, but really to get the job done is really what matters. And so you will have a very interesting blend of people who have youth and experience together, but leadership is really the next best, the next big challenge that's going to come through. Do we have enough pipeline? Are they ready to take the company and force them into the next, segment of its evolution? And then, to me, I think agility, without being too fragile, is going to be super, super important. Who cracks under pressure, but at the same time, you've got to have, you've got to break things and fail fast, without upsetting everything else that is around you. And I think these three on the software aspect are going to be top 10 interviewing questions for young people, whether they're in business schools or across competition.
Yeah, agility, absolutely. Anupam also mentioned that. So Satyajit, you want to make the second set of announcements?
Let's do that. So this is for the folks who won 50% scholarships. And the first winner is Sagar Gulati. And if Sagar, you're there you are.
Good evening, everyone. I'm really thankful to all the jury members, panelists, and all the sponsors, Hero Vired and the Times of India, for recognizing my project, blockchain-based e-voting system. I was just working hard on this project and never expected that I would be one of the top 12 finalists. And today I'm very grateful to receive the scholarship. Thank you, sir. Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Well done, Sagar.
Thank you, sir.
I'd like to also call upon Rhythm Reddy, our next winner. So Rhythm, if you're around, well done to you, Rhythm.
So Rhythm is from Hyderabad. His idea is to propose a system that detects the image of license plates, in a driving car using MATLAB. If that makes sense. And Rhythm, if you could switch on your camera if you're there. I can see you from here. So if you could say something. If not, we'll just move on to the next one. Satyajit.
Okay. Our next winner is Deboshi Lahiri. And well done, Deboshi. If you're around, love to see you. Great job.
Rhythm switched on.
Right. So Deboshi is from Calcutta. If you his idea is called a breath of life, using ML and AI to detect and find out whether a person has a chance of suffering lung cancer or not, based on his symptoms, habits, and lifestyle data. Deboshi?
Yeah,
Do you want to go off more, please? Yes.
Yeah, I would like to thank the jury members and the sponsors for choosing my idea, Hero Vired and Times of India. Really means a lot. Thank you.
Well done, Deboshi. Well done. And our final winner in this particular category is Aviral Goel. So Aviral, if you're around, well done to you.
So Aviral is from Noida, and his idea is to create a voice-enabled assistive smart stick for blind people, helping them navigate independently using artificial intelligence. Aviral?
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank all the jury members and panelists for this award. Thank you.
Thank you, Aviral. Sujit, over to you.
Okay, wonderful. Congratulations to all of you. So Shilpa, there's some audience questions.
Yes,
right?
we have some audience questions. This one is from Sandeep Jain. So he wants to know, for building career in VLSI, which skill sets need to be learned and how?
That Anjali will have to.
VLSI, yeah.
Yeah, I can take that one. I think, you need to have a degree in silicon engineering, basically. So computer science, electronics. You need to have a degree of knowledge in RTL and coding and all of that. And by the way, if it helps, there are these courses that are there in our top tier schools, in our tier 2 schools, which are focused on VLSI kind of job areas. So, you don't have to really go looking for it. There are those skills. If you go there and if you just say VLSI, you will get those skills and you can enroll into them. And you're talking necessarily about schools which are your IITs, your BITS, Pilanis, your RECs, your NITs. All of these schools today offer a lot of talent and courses in very large scale integration.
Okay. Anupam, let me ask you this question. I mean, you have a role outside India as well, other areas, other countries. Are there best practices that we can learn from them, or are they learning from us?
I wouldn't really say that there is anything that is unique to some of the other countries outside of India. I think some of the things that we've seen across most of the other countries is this partnership between businesses and organizations and schools, universities. I think that is something that we do in India as well. They look at it again, across different aspects, whether it is people from different businesses either going and connecting with the students, doing guest lectures, whether that is projects, whether that is other platforms where you work while you learn. So I think you've got different aspects that come in with that partnership between businesses and schools. I think the other way that plays out is the partnership between governments, businesses, and schools as well. So we've seen that across a lot of different countries, and I think we have that in India as well. I would say another one that a lot of universities and colleges focus on is not just with respect to the technical curriculum or your functional curriculum, but also how do you build these people skills or these newer skills, whether that is around problem solving, whether it is around EQ, because it's no longer just about IQ, it's about EQ. It's about how do you have empathy. It is about how do you work across boundaries? How do you influence? So you're starting to see a lot of universities and campuses actually starting to focus on some of those aspects, because those are going to start to become so relevant. They're relevant today. They're going to be even more relevant tomorrow. I think there's also this element around self-awareness and management that has started to emerge and is going to continue to be a key focus area, which is how self-aware are you and how do you actually manage your stressors, your response, your well-being, right? So that's going to start to become so important in the near future. And I think the last one, which I would say, and again, this is something that is not unique to other countries because we have this in India as well, which is how do you start to make education and especially STEM education accessible and inclusive, right? Because it's not just for big cities, but how do you start to make education accessible and inclusive? I think we've got a lot of examples in India as well, as we've seen these initiatives go deep into the country, especially into the rural areas, and some of the partnerships, again, that corporates have with the government. So I would say those are some of the things that we've seen across different countries, Sujit.
Okay. Shilpa?
Yeah, so coming to you, you are elevated as the first ESG officer at 314 Capital. It's the first in the Indian startup ecosystem, VC ecosystem. So I wanted to hear from you that how important is it for startups to focus on sustainability? Do you think it has to be baked into the curriculum early on? If you can share your thoughts on that.
It's essential, Shilpa. I think, everyone has this sort of misconception when it comes to sustainability. That sustainability always comes at the cost of either profits, at the cost of growth, at the cost of other business metrics. That's not actually true. Sustainability is actually an inherent obligation and responsibility that every civic-minded citizen of the world needs to actually take forward. And any business that actually robs away from that, or actually starts robbing away the quality of life from another person, those kind of businesses are inherently unsustainable and unstable, and the repercussions of those businesses will actually have an impact on the world for decades to actually come. And right about now, given the world, the situation where we are currently is extremely precarious. The climate crisis is something that's an actual reality and something that all of us can actually face. In fact, Delhi actually seems to have unseasonable cyclones right about now. The Bay of Bengal has been buffeted by cyclones almost every single month this entire year as well. The world is still reeling from COVID and the after effects of what that actually entails. So sustainability, I think this has been a wake-up call to the rest of the world as to the importance of sustainability. Sustainability is no longer a catchphrase that all students would learn about in their EVS or environmental sciences classes in school, and something that people can actually talk about as a talking point. It's now become inherent practice that everyone has to do. And the obligations of sustainability doesn't necessarily mean that one has to retool and rework the entire businesses. By making minor changes to the entire process, by being cognizant of the footprint that you actually leave on the world, either in terms of your carbon footprint, your plastic footprint, or the impact that some of your business practices may actually have. Keeping these sort of things in mind will actually become integral. And technology actually goes a very long way in increasing the level of sustainability that an organization can actually bring up. Because the role of technology, every company, according to me, is actually a technology company in some way or form, because everyone has to use technology to actually improve and augment processes. By using this, not just to improve the bottom line, but using this to make yourself more efficient and use a smaller number of resources and maximize the amount of output you can actually get. By making a conscious decision to actually invest into alternate sources of financing, alternate sources of energy or anything like that as of now, as opposed to going for traditional sources. It may be a little more expensive in the short run, but the impact that you have and the sentiments it actually engenders across your entire team and galvanizes the team culture across your vendors, across your shareholders, across all the other stakeholders. There are real tangible benefits that actually come as part of this itself. So everyone should actually look upon their own business models to understand how they can actually start making them more sustainable. And out of the ESG component, the social component is actually equally important, making sure we don't have any hiring practices that are inherently discriminatory, by ensuring that you adhere and you believe and you actually align yourself with all the unique conditions that every single one of your colleagues and your teammates may actually end up having, and be more accommodative when it comes to looking at the principles that actually apply to some of the practices we've been doing as well. And from a governance perspective, I think we've seen the rise of shareholder activism in India also when it comes to listed spaces as well. And we've seen what damage, especially to the NPA crisis in India, has actually shown the damage that bad governance can actually have on the entire economy as a whole. Because after all, it's taxpayers like you and me who actually have to end up bailing these bad actors in the entire markets. So by these sort of efforts don't only come in as a function of scale. The moment we start inculcating these principles early on, like you said, having a proper curriculum shift happening to the right investors, by investors actually taking the initiative, by founders also understanding the effects that these actually have on your business long term, and by more people in the media actually speaking about the role of ESG when it comes to it. And Times of India has done a fantastic job when it actually comes to that as well. So kudos to you guys for taking the lead when it actually comes to this in the Indian context also. I think the combination of these three will help us stave off the upcoming climate crisis and ensure that the world as a whole actually comes out far better coming out of COVID than we ever did actually going into COVID.
Absolutely. I think you're absolutely on the right track. Global companies like Cisco, Intel, of course, I see all of them talking sustainability now. ESG has become a big agenda there. Indian companies, fewer, I think, but Infosys, of course, said they're going to do it faster than the UN has mandated and all that, which is good. But absolutely, Siddarth, I think that's absolutely on the right track. Satyajit, there's a question here. Since you are also in the whole teaching part of it, there's a question from Samshwi asking what new teaching methodologies need to come up for students to imbibe job-ready skills quickly?
Yeah, I think if that's a great question, first of all, because we've been seeing the whole learning experience change from not just physical education, but generally, if you look at it from how COVID has transformed the way people learn. Who would have thought that you could actually go to school without going to school, right? You just you got teachers on the other side, and all of us are going through that on a daily basis. And the way at least I've looked at the way teaching has been carried out. A lot of it is now served in micros and nuggets and bits and pieces, because can you imagine sitting through a whole day with the current generation that we have? Attention spans and all kinds of things that would come through. You really need to be able to serve up as much as you can in a very short span of time. And you have to do it on a continuous basis. So which means that much like performance, where we all talk about, oh, can we start measuring how people are doing on a continuous basis, as opposed to doing it, let's say, once a year or once in 6 months. Learning is very, very similar. So if you have to perform well, you have to perform continuously, you also have to learn continuously. And you want to make sure that the methodology is gamified, it's very visual, and not just in terms of static visual, but dynamic visual. You've got to have a lot of learning experiences that are real, and not just some things that lie in books and in academics. So you have to make learning techniques that are more real-time, more lifelike, more forward thinking, and very, very engaging. I think these 4 or 5 things are really going to be important for people to pick up learning and enjoy them in its truest sense.
No way, absolutely engaging, absolutely. I mean, it's so difficult to hold people's attention now. Satyajit, do you want to now make the final set of announcements?
Yes. So this obviously is the blockbuster 100% scholarships. So something that I definitely envy. I wish I was part of this group. But the first winner is Gaurav Gawade, if I've pronounced the last name correctly. Gaurav, huge congratulations to you. Well done.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for felicitating me for this award. And thanks to all the jury members for selecting my project for this panel, and look on in the future for making more projects. Thank you.
Thanks, Gaurav. Could you
Gaurav's idea also, yeah, so Gaurav's idea is to help visually impaired people facing trouble navigating independently. So by using ultrasonic sensors and different software applications. Was I audible?
Yes, Rima.
Okay, great. Thank you, Gaurav. Congratulations.
Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you. Congratulations. Our next winner is goes by the name of Devrajula Uma Mahesh. So if you're there, many congratulations, Uma Mahesh.
So Devrajula is unwell, sorry. But he's from Hyderabad. He's unwell. So I'll just give one line about his idea. His idea was to detect a threat or abnormal activity in surveillance videos using artificial intelligence. So just in your surveillance videos, if there's an abnormal activity going on, then it can alert the right people. That was his idea.
Wonderful. Now I see rank 1 here, and I think we should definitely call out for massive celebration. Ritwij Srivastav, well done. You've done exceptionally well. Congratulations if you're around. Yes, there you are.
Yeah, thank you everyone for giving me such an opportunity. I am very grateful. So I never thought I will be in the finalist, and now at the top 1 place. So I was working on this idea from 1 year, more than 1 year. So it was for a hand gesture recognition for deaf and dumb people. So thanks to everyone. Thanks for taking me.
So I don't know if everyone understood that. So his idea is basically for for people who cannot speak. He's found a way to communicate from a better way of, rather than using just sign language, to use different use artificial intelligence, I believe, to be able to communicate with people, for deaf and dumb people.
Thank you, Rima, and thank you, Ritwij. Congratulations to you.
Yes.
And of course, huge congratulations to everybody who's been part of the Special 12. Keep winning, keep thinking, keep creating, and good luck to you. Sujit, over to you.
Thanks. Oh, so inspirational. Congratulations to all of you. So we are at 7 o'clock, just out of time. So final words, Anupama. There's a lot of these youngsters watching us. What will be that one message be?
Have faith in yourself, continue to follow your energy, your passion, continue to stay curious, and keep failing forward.
Failing forward. Anjali? Anjali, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry. I think my last words would be innovate, think different, challenge status quo, and the moment you feel like you know what you're doing and you know it really well, it's time to challenge yourself and look at the next thing that you want to get into.
Thanks, Siddarth.
I think my parting words are going to be to actually venture forward, no matter how uncertain it may actually entail. The greatest regret you'll have in life is not actually not making the opportunities you could have at the right moment itself. So the moment you can actually take that particular leap of faith, if you fail, it's no longer a black mark against you. It's a fantastic learning experience. But as a previous panelist has said, you always make sure a lot of people can actually fail into success. So it's no longer failure as an endpoint, failure as a stepping stone. Make sure you always fail into success, and you'll never truly fail if you actually do
that. Satyajit?
Yeah, I think upskilling and cross-skilling is all great, but all of you, I think, in the pursuit of excellence should have curiosity at the top of your mind. I mean, if Newton didn't watch that apple fall, I don't know, when we would have learned about gravity. And that's just a starting point, right? So each of you should keep asking, and even if it ticks people off, I think asking the question why is really the taking you to the next stage of everything that you're going to possibly do. So good luck and best wishes to all of you.
Okay, so there you go. Be curious. Don't worry about failing. Fail forward. Thanks a lot to all of you. There is a lot of great messages there. Anupam, Anjali, Siddarth, Satyajit, great having you on our panel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.